Ladies and gentlemen, Goldkey Properties.
Thank you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Afua. I handle marketing, sales, and leasing for Goldkey Properties. Okay, so I'll start off with who we are. So Goldkey is 25 this year. We've been in the real estate market in Ghana for 25 years. We are... Okay, can everybody hear me? Yes. I'm usually louder than this, I'm surprised. Maybe you guys are making me a bit tense because I'm sure my MD is thinking, she's louder than this. Okay, so it's much better now. So Goldkey has been in business for 25 years. We have an excess of 200,000 square meters, both residential and commercial properties spread across airport residential area, cantonments, and ridge. I'm guessing a lot of you are saying, we can't, these are the, the Knightsbridge and whatnot here. But we do have something for everyone here. I would like to add, marking our 25th anniversary, we'll be branching into other developments in other areas like Chado, which will be sharing details with you after my presentation. But we are predominantly into property development, we're into property management, sales, and rental. Over the years, we've won numerous awards. The latest one was at the International Property Awards for our Cantonment City development, which I'll come to during my presentation. We won Best Mixed-Use Architecture, as well as Best Office Architecture Ghana. So not just residential, commercial buildings as well. These are some of our commercial developments. I think our first commercial development was Elizabeth. I don't know if any of you know that. It used to be the head office for Virgin Atlantic. It was opposite Woolworth and airport. So that was our first one. Then we moved on to Huawei. For those of you that know Ghana very well, it's in the Cantonment City, what we call the Cantonment City Enclave in the Morning Star area. So this is how it looks now, or it will look in a few years. We have developed the other end from the Huawei building to PwC Tower. We have a garden, we have commercial spaces, 2 blocks of residential apartments that are sold out, and we have 90% occupancy currently in those apartments. And opposite, we have EY completed. So this is how it looks if you've been to Ghana recently. This is how the stretch looks like. So moving on to our residential developments, we have quite an extensive portfolio with photos following. We have Cantonment City apartments, Laurels, which is fully leased to the British High Commission. They're in the 4th year and they're extending. We have American Embassy and British High Commission and many of the embassies that are our biggest tenants, as well as many other corporates. So these are some of our commercial residential developments. Sorry. Cantonment City Tower. So this is our latest development. We launched in December, and by January, we're 70% sold out. Currently, we're 90% sold. We're sold out on the studios. We have 1 bed come up for resale, 1 2-bed come up for resale, a 3-bed and 2 penthouses currently available. The duplexes are also sold out here. So these are some of the facilities in the development. We would have a rooftop bar, rooftop walking track, we have a visitor's lounge, cinema, presentation room, concierge services, and we have smart features. Right now, your house will come with a smart lock. So you don't necessarily need a key, either a thumbprint or use a code. We also would have smart features wiring. So depending on you and what you like, some people might feel, I can open the curtains myself. Others might feel I want to sit in my bed and open in the morning to feel like we have that wiring available at an additional cost if you prefer that. That will also increase your rental values as some extra traits like those features. So the lights is not dark enough for you to appreciate it, but you can come to my stand and appreciate more images of Cantonment City Tower. So the payment terms. So this is our standard payment term. After paying $5,000 as reservation fee, and before you pay that $5,000, as much as you hear all developers talk about how beautiful the developments are, please do your due diligence. It's very important. Know the type of developer you're getting in bed with. Understand this is what works for you and works for your budget. Then you pay the money because it's not refundable. So you pay that $5,000 reservation fee, and you pay 25% upon signing the sales and purchase agreement. So this agreement is what binds you. Your lawyers will look at it, our lawyers will look at it. We sign and, we have the standard payment terms there. If the standard payment terms here do not work for you, after paying the 25% reservation, 25% upon signing the sales and purchase agreement, we can sit down to plan something that works for you, but during the construction period of the development, which for Cantonment City Tower is 24 months. This is it. So a part of my presentation talks about Ghana in general, just because there's a lot of uncertainty from with investors, looking at how Ghana is going, the depreciation, is this the best time to buy, is this not? But 2019 saw Ghana on the map. It's still on the map. The Year of Return initiative put Ghana in the spotlight. Everyone wants to visit Ghana. Even friends, that have never been, lived in the States all their lives, in Canada. What's the hype about Ghana? They want to come. When they come, I think one of the most key components of it and how it ties investors look into property is accommodation. Believe it or not, many people do not want to stay in a hotel. They want to stay in like a home away from home, in an apartment complex. And this is where the home ownership in Ghana comes to play. There's a lot of diasporans, a lot of people, even living in Ghana, aspire to own property. They aspire to either build, but now it's looking more and more people liking to buy. So there's a whole buy-in and building dilemma. Do I buy or do I build? Looking at the lifestyles and preferences of all of us, you'd realize people would want jacuzzi at the top. That one you have to build yourself, because some homeowner, we can't do it if you pay extra cost for the penthouse, definitely. But looking at different lifestyles and preferences, sometimes the best for us is to build. But what does that come with? It comes with land registration and ownership, the stress at lands commission, you going having to go through that, paying money. That's the first thing. The second is whether the land you actually bought even actually belongs to you or has been sold to 5 other people, even though you have the documentation. All the other 4 in court also have the same documentation from Lands Commission. All of that comes into play. And then obtaining permits to build, documentation, it becomes an issue. Finding the right professionals to build. The carpenter will collect money and not show up. It's a dilemma. So what do people do? They decide, okay, I'm putting all the burden on the developer. They handle the Lands Commission stuff. They handle these professionals and tradesmen. All I do is, at the end of the duration, stated in my SPA, I get my key and come into my house. The flexible payment plans offered, so if my budget is X amount, I know I'm spreading it across this period agreed between both parties. There's property management involved. Owning your own house means, the whole, just one person in the house, paying security, paying that, paying XYZ. Within a developer's enclave, all of this is shared, as common area maintenance or service charge fees, which is paid, which actually increases the appreciation of the asset. There's sort of asset appreciation because your property is maintained. It's just not about buying the property, but maintaining it to make sure there's asset appreciation. With asset appreciation comes choosing the right location, because that all adds up to appreciation. If you're choosing cantonments, rich airport, as opposed to areas where the road infrastructures or what there are no schools, it doesn't pull, especially for an investment property, it doesn't pull people to rent or buy. So this is the real estate outlook in Ghana. Believe it or not, the rental yields are between 8 to 11% currently. There's still interest, a heightened interest in studios and 1 beds as well as 2 beds for first-time buyers who want to test the waters, and also improvements in infrastructure. What does the future of real estate in Ghana look like? Currently, there's still demand for properties, for luxury properties. There's a boom in short-term rentals. There's a heightened demand for commercial properties because businesses are coming in. They need commercial properties as well as places to stay. And there's technology advancement and smart home features as well. For many that want to know the typical rental income in Cantonments Airport Ridge, I'm giving a brief based on our portfolio. For studios, furnished studios, you'll be looking at between 1,400, 1,550. But please bear in mind, for furnished furniture, it's really dependent on you. How Amma would furnish a place to get 1,004 might not necessarily be the way Kofi would furnish it, hence why he's getting 1,100. So it's very, very subjective to how the place looks and also the preference of the person renting. So typically we're looking from 1,100 for studios to $5,000 for townhouses in these areas. Thank you. I hope I did my job.
No, you need this.
Any questions, or I answered everything, so I'm good.
Thank you for the presentation, Amma. My name is Abina. You mentioned briefly around doing your due diligence with the developers. What would you say good due diligence looks like, and what are the key checks and questions to ask?
Okay. So the key checks. So you're someone that lives here that has not, someone who's not been to Ghana. I mean, there's someone came to my stand that actually hasn't been to Ghana but is looking to invest. So for someone like that, she doesn't even know what Cantonment Airport is. Like someone who also lives in Ghana, if you say Nicebridge, they say, what name is that? They probably don't know. So I think the research starts from, real estate, location. What location suits you best? You start from the location, and based on that, you'll be able to identify the key developers in that area. Then it draws down to the developers. With developers, lots of research goes into it because my website is going to look really nice. There's not going to be any negatives. But also, it boils down to you inquiring from other people, whether they've heard about this developer and what people have to say. Mind you, people's experiences with developers might be different. But nevertheless, you would find a handful, whatever a handful say, it's definitely right. Because there'll be some people that tell you, this developer is good, but the spaces are tight. So you go at your own risk. Most likely, they are right. So once you get to sort of narrow down on the developers, you probably to top 3, to the property that suits you, I think it's basically getting to know who the developer is and the type of properties they build, whether it suits you. So you have developers that develop 200 units. As an individual, are you someone that's okay with investing in a property that's 200 units? Do you know if property management will be able to handle how it will look in 5 years? Some prefer smaller units, 20 units of apartments. It means property management is most likely to maintain this unit properly. I mean, it's very dependent on you. So investing in a 20-unit apartment, 5 floors, probably works best for me. So due diligence is more on your research on what you want, the developers, what the developers also giving up. I don't know if that's clear. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, my name is Reet, and I went around the stalls, and it seems everyone's investing in Accra. I'd like to know what they're doing about the other regions, and also I'd like someone to link me up with a lawyer after as well. Thank you.
You are the right place.
So Accra is a lot of work. We're not done with Accra yet. That's the issue. I mean, the other regions, Kumasi and the rest will come up, but Accra, when you come to Accra, you realize, just say something that just came up, I think. My colleague and I went to South Africa. We're coming back to Accra, and when we landed, there just seems to be some investors who've never been. So this is the first one, sitting right behind us. And as soon as we landed, they were like, oh, we don't see no tall. They see Villaggio, and they're like, oh, they're not tall buildings in Accra. And then the guy is like, I think as we land, we'll see more. And as we land, they realize it's just, midget-looking houses. And there's a reason for that. People will tell you it's because people don't decide to go higher up because the fire service infrastructure is not really there yet. There's so many reasons for that, but it just tells you there's a lot more that needs to be done. And baby steps. So developers want to make sure they've conquered Accra before moving, to the other regions, which would develop. The infrastructures are better in place in Accra than the other regions, So baby steps will... Developers eventually branch out, but for now, Accra needs a lot of work. Yeah.
All right. Can we have the last question?
Thank you for your presentation. My name's Emma. I was just curious, how do the developers actually find the lands in Accra? Because Accra is obviously it's a city where increasingly there's a real stretch on on purchasing land. So how do you actually find the lands in Accra in order to build your developments?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we work with a lot of agents that bring land to us. So sometimes what we get is not necessarily a land. Sometimes the properties that are like 50, sometimes even built in 60s, 70s with families that everyone has relocated to, abroad, and they just want to sort of do something with the land. So they go into JVs. They don't want to sell. They want to own a piece of the land. So they go into JVs and still sort of own a piece of the land their parents, their grandparents left for them. So that's how we look. So you see Accra with high walls. They're all lands available. So, most likely. So we deal with agents, we deal with people. So after this session, there might be someone here who has land in Laboni Airport, cantonment, that can reach out and say, hey, can you guys help or assist with, this family property we have that we're not sure what to do with it. We don't want to sell, but, so, and we can just sit down, look at the deals and strike a deal with the JV. And maybe next year we would have the Owusus or the Hammonds as a property. So that's how it usually works, yeah. No worries.
Ladies and gentlemen, Goldkey Properties, thank you very much.